Ever wonder why All Might's eyes are like this? How surprising would it be to learn the symbol of peace is actually a broken man, even as early as episode 1. A man who gave his all to become a hero, and as backward as it sounds, was too good at being one. You're probably asking yourself, how can you be too good at being a hero? This is the guy whose very existence inspired so many of the next generation to live up to the example he set. The reason the day ends up getting saved in My Hero Academia is because people like Deku and Bakugo idolized All Might and tried to live up to his legacy. It's also kind of the reason it needed to be saved in the first place. How was he too good? He did everything himself, and whether it was intentional or not, the world became reliant on him. But that can't last forever because he's fixing problems, not solving them. He's a band-aid for a knife wound, and once he's gone, you realize those problems are far more complex. It's an inability to keep this up that slowly breaks him down from within. When he looks at himself in the mirror, he sees a shell of his former self. As surprising as it sounds, he's lost his way. That's why his eyes are the way they are. He's like this when we're first introduced to him. One of the first things he says is he doesn't think Izuku Midoriya can be a hero because he doesn't have a quirk. But All Might was born quirkless, and he became the world's greatest hero, the one everyone relied on. He's forgotten his own roots, and being constantly reminded of who he truly is a big part of his story. It's why his relationships with Izuku and eventually Bakugo are so meaningful. It's Midoriya rushing in to stop the sludge villain without a quirk that reminds All Might what heroism is. So he chooses to pass his power, one for all, onto the boy who reminded him. But he's not doing this because he wants to, it's because he has to. You may be aware that John Cena recently retired from wrestling. Trust me, this is connected. Interviewers kept telling him, "You're going out on your own terms," and he'd respond, "No, I'm not. If it was up to me, I'd do this forever, but my body won't allow me to do that." This is where All Might's at. He lives for this. He says himself, those who wield this quirk are responsible for mankind's safety. This isn't just all he's ever wanted, it's all he values about himself. Think about it. He hasn't settled down, he doesn't have a family, all of his friends are heroes or in hero-adjacent professions. It's all he has. Once he's given up one for all, it's telling that he keeps his true form hidden from people. He says it's for morale, but part of it's for himself. He doesn't want people to see him the way he views himself. I also think this is why the first time he showed up at UA, he's wearing his Silver Age costume. He's clinging to his former glory. Even as his power fades, he literally can't help himself. On his way to the USJ, he stops to solve each crime happening, even though it zaps him of his strength. When he finally does arrive, he's not smiling like you'd expect, he looks pissed. It's guilt. However, it's the UA students who help him physically and emotionally. They aid him in the fight with Nomu, but it's seeing their drive that keeps him going too. And yet, there's still a moment in this fight where maybe for the first time ever, he admits he needs backup. There are doubts within him he's simply not used to having. The old All Might wouldn't have batted an eye at this situation, he would have just kept going. His backstory tells us why that is. Like Deku, he was born quirkless, but he grew up in an era where crime rates were steadily on the rise. His family was murdered. He believed the only way for things to change was if there was a symbol. As a quirkless man, he said he had no other role in hero society than making sure that came to be. That's what he told the pro-hero Nana Shimura, and with his words, he convinced her to allow him to train under her, even without a quirk. It's an interesting parallel to what happened later with Deku, where All Might inspired with words, Izuku did so with action, so he trains under her and his homeroom teacher, Gran Torino, before receiving her ability, One for All. This gave him the strength to do what he'd always wanted, but that doesn't mean it'll be easy. Eventually those three face off against the villain All for One, and he's too powerful. Understanding the battle has been lost, but the war can be won because she believes All Might is the future, Shimura has Gran Torino take him away. You might recognize her final pose and words to him too. She points and says, "It's your turn," and she's right. I do wonder if her pushing her family away to protect them is part of the reason why All Might never started one, that it was a necessary sacrifice to become number one. I mean, Tom Brady did it too. Either way, All Might became the greatest hero the world has ever known, so it makes sense he was inspired by Goku. Like Goku, All Might is the most powerful hero in the world, but that's not what makes him a hero or what drives him. In fact, he's more like Superman, someone who is guided by doing what's right, not by getting stronger. Whether it's it's all he did in Japan, or his stint in America, where he met his best friend Dave, or inspiring their top hero to be, All Might made an impact everywhere he went. How far-reaching this is something that really stands out about his character. We know what he does for Class A throughout the series, but there's also Tsukauchi, who he used to pan his paperwork off on. We see Gran Torino in Season 2, Shimura throughout, Dave in the Two Heroes movie. His former sidekick Night Eye is a huge part of Season 4, Star and Stripe in Season 7, and even that clown from the 4th movie. This is why he's the symbol of peace, but like I said before, there's a burden to that. He's so consumed by a desire to help others that it dominates his life. He may be Superman on the surface, but he's not beneath it. Something that really hits him hard is when Bakugo gets kidnapped. It's a failure of the one thing he values about himself, and another reminder he's not who he used to be. It's almost sad in how he seems to only be able to value himself if he's helping others. It's like he has no other purpose. When he goes to rectify this mistake and rescue the boy, he finds himself face to face with his greatest foe, and the reason he's a shell of himself, All For One. To defeat All For One, he pushes past his limits one last time, and uses up all the strength that was remaining within him. For the first time, the public sees his true form, and one last time he throws the arm up and gets buff, because as Gran Torino says, he's still working. This is for everyone watching, and also one last thing for himself. There's a really underrated moment here that pops back up later too. A fellow hero named Tiger tells him during the fight, if we can just help a little, we can fulfill our duty. That's going to come up again. His point, and now it's your turn moment, is iconic. I love the callback to his master, but also what it means for the next generation, because different people respond to it in different ways. Deku knows it's for him, Bakugo suspects that too, but society takes it as a more general moment of inspiration. The villain from the 4th movie somehow thinks it's about him, and even All For One uses it to play mind games later. There's also something he didn't consider here, Bakugo's feelings. Bakugo doesn't know the truth about One For All. He believes his capture destroyed All Might, that if he had been stronger, All Might would still have his powers. It's the most emotional we've seen him to that point, and All Might clears things up for him. It's not Bakugo's fault, it was bound to happen. This is a teaching moment. He highlights how both Bakugo and Deku each represent half the picture when it comes to becoming a hero. Save to win, win to save. And if they can learn from each other to put the whole thing together, they'll be unstoppable. While this is important for their growth, All Might himself is struggling. After Kamino, he needs to find a new purpose in life, and it's something he's having trouble with. He was broken when the series began, now he's lost his powers entirely. Others see him as a weakling who needs protection. He feels like he's lost his identity. When he speaks to All For One in prison, wearing his red suit again, which I think is intentional, All For One sees all of this. He asks him, how does it feel to sit on the sidelines? I mentioned Superman earlier, but the major difference between All Might and the idea a lot of people have about Superman is that we constantly see how deeply human All Might is. He's both a showboat and painfully awkward at times. We watched him doubt himself in every big fight he's had. We've seen him afraid or even feel despair, like when he learned Shigaraki is the grandson of his master. I think another part that weighs on him is this is exactly what he was told would happen too. Night Eye said he'd be in this exact position, but he didn't listen. He couldn't let go until he was forced to. He's also hilariously a pretty bad teacher. After Bakugo loses to Deku, he tries to comfort him and gets told off. Before he can explain the nuance of that fight, Momo one-ups him and leaves him with nothing to say. But we should expect this. He solves every problem with a punch. That's not really something you can teach. Michael Jordan was a bad owner. Some things can't be taught. I think he realizes this too, because when Endeavor asks him what being the symbol of peace means, All Might says his belief in needing a symbol caused him to ignore those around him, something Endeavor has already done. Don't follow in my footsteps, do things your own way. This is why Endeavor says, just watch me when he becomes #1, and in his first fight, it's not about being a symbol, it's about his perseverance, his atonement. That's why when he raises his arm a la All Might, it's the opposite one. That plays into this really cool symbiotic relationship he has with others that you wouldn't expect a Paragon character to have. He is the symbol that is helping characters like Deku, Bakugo, even Endeavor and Star and Stripe throughout the series, but he is also growing because of the things they teach him along the way. He himself constantly says others are always saving him. This is maybe best exemplified by his smile. That's something that was passed down to him from his master, and something he uses to inspire so many others, and yet, throughout this story, he's trying to re-find his own. I think he might be at his lowest when Deku is going down the same path he did. He's doing everything alone, but he isn't equipped to deal with it. The beauty of this is, this wasn't revealed to us right away. It's something we saw chipped away at bit by bit for multiple seasons until all of a sudden we're in the middle of a catastrophe we didn't even know was happening. When Endeavor replaces All Might, it may seem similar, but cracks start forming. Then he gets torn down, and before you know it, heroes in general have lost the trust of the public. So Deku places the burden of saving everyone on himself and pushes others away, All Might included. Not only does this emphasize the burden All Might had to deal with for decades, but it hurts the current version of him. It makes him feel weak and useless to be brushed aside. His perspective on this is shifted by Stain, of all people. One more symbiotic relationship added to the list. Stain was motivated to purge heroes who didn't live up to All Might's standards, and ironically, he has to remind All Might himself what those standards were. He wasn't a hero because he was strong, it was because he did what was right. Now the roles have reversed with his protege. In the beginning of the series, Deku asked him, "Can I be a hero?" It's here that All Might, now in the very same position, asks himself the same thing, and the answer is yes. That's why his eyes return to normal for the final battle and stay that way after the fact. But make no mistake about it, joining the fight against All For One is not reclaiming his former glory. This is not him carrying the burden of saving the day on his shoulders. It's the opposite. He's a small piece of the hero puzzle. Win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter. Remember what he was told earlier? We can just help a little. He has faith in the other heroes to do their part in taking down the villains. Every second he slows down All For One is simply to benefit them. It's a complete reversal of who he has been for so long. So when All Might is the one without power at the end of the series, and he's facing the man literally destined to kill him, how does he fight back? By wearing a suit that uses the quirks of the students he taught, tying all the way back to the USJ fight. The impact they've had on him is why his fate of certain death is broken. The next generation willed it so. Originally, I had mixed feelings on him surviving. I didn't think his legacy or character benefited from living. But then I thought about it some more. I fell into the same trap the Hero Society did. I was looking at him to be a solution, much like they did for the entirety of the series. I valued the symbol more than the man. Thematically, it's actually perfect. This whole show has been about true heroism, and we've seen how people like Deku have broken the chains of fate to make a brighter future. That's exactly what Bakugo does when he saves All Might, which is doubly impactful because that's redemption for him. He believed he destroyed All Might back in Kamino, so saving him from the very same villain here couldn't be more poetic. Him flashing a big smile afterwards is just icing on top. So All Might's reward for his decades of heroism is he gets to live, to find value in himself in a new way, a purpose that doesn't include being a hero. The man who everyone once relied upon now relies on others every day. Maybe he will continue to pass his knowledge on to the next generation, or maybe he'll just live a good life. Regardless, it's up to him, and it's a beautiful conclusion. All Might matters for a bunch of reasons. Everyone needs something or someone to look up to, and he represents that. But his story also shows that you can't assume someone else will fix all your problems for you. That's the mistake Hero Society made. He's also such a human depiction of a hero. His smile was just as powerful as he was because it gave people hope, and yet he used it to hide his own fear and insecurities. He's a man who values what he does, but not who he is, and that's something he has to learn. He's a paragon who is broken from the start, and piece by piece he's put back together. He's the world's greatest hero, and yet he never stops growing. It's not only relatable or inspiring, it's just a really cool way to handle this type of character story. It's like he said, you too can be a hero. Now subscribe or watch society crumble.